Partnerships is a joint program of City Parks Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization, and the Parks Department. So we're part of the agency, we're also part of a nonprofit organization. And our role is to, on the one hand, help to build the capacity of community groups throughout the city, dog groups, groups that do health, education, recreation programs. And on the other hand, try to connect those groups with decision makers in the agency who can best respond to the issues that you have. So the way we're organized, so we have outreach coordinators in each of the borough offices who will respond to your issues, meet with you, find out what your goals are, and then try to help connect you with the people in the Parks Department and also in other agencies, Department of Transportation, Sanitation, as best we can, to help you resolve some of those issues. But what we find is that a lot of the issues and the things we've been talking about, like strong groups or a sense of community, the kind of events that you have, or helping groups do fundraising, these are all things that we can help trade best practices. We can introduce you to groups that are more established. We can share with you ways that they've been doing what they do. We have a thing called Partnerships Academy, which is a series of workshops throughout a year where you learn everything from how to fundraise, to working with elected officials, to working with the media, to articulating a mission and vision for what your group is. And all of those things feed into your ability to fundraise. We can also do some much more specific things, like if you're not a Garrett had talked about being a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That's usually a few steps into the life of a group. So if you're still trying to figure out what your viability is, City Parks Foundation can act as fiscal sponsor for your group. So if you do a fundraiser, there's a place to hold the funds, and you can effectively test the viability of your group. So that's a way that we can help you as well. So as you're thinking about what you want to do, we have outreach staff throughout the city, as well as technical assistance staff who can help you get more into the mechanics of your organization. If you have one person who's been a leader, but you're trying to figure out what your succession is going to look like, or you have a lot of goals, but you're not sure how to prioritize them. We also have a large database of about 55,000 individuals and 3,800 groups that are in some way involved in parks. So we can help connect you with other groups in your area, or groups that are not in your area but are doing the same thing. So these are all ways that we can help to support you. Kirsty Bambridge is here, and she can take your contact information. As I said, we have staff throughout the city, so she may not be your ideal outreach coordinator for your area, but we can share that information with other people on staff.
We have 70 people here, and we had 15 people who had to leave. Right. If there is a big call, and if people here are interested, would the partnerships consider co-sponsoring with us a mini academy on fundraising specific to the dog groups that we would put together, because we could fill a nice facility with all of this and your people and your expertise for that, because we are very different than a lot of civic associations and things like that.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to say. I was trying to write, but now that you give me a little more time. Thanks, Bob. This is an incredible group of people, and it's incredible that you've got a coordinating body like NYCdog, and that you've all taken the day and come from all over the city to be here. We always talk about how wonderful it would be, you know, when we're working with horticulture groups and playground groups and trying to get people together. And you've done such a tremendous job of pulling people together, informing them, and keeping them together. So that's absolutely something that we could do in turn, and not just fundraising, but all of those other things as well, you know, working with elected officials and having groups share best practices.
Jay, would it, show of hands, would people be interested if we offered something like that? Okay, cool. You got your answer.
Done. Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
But you don't have to be appointed to be in the community board. You can, if you want to be on the full board that votes on the whole universe of issues in your community board, you have to be appointed by the borough president or your council person. However, you can be a community member. I talk too much against housing in Brooklyn Bridge Park, hence I'm a community member of the Parks Committee now. But I still can vote on any of the issues that are in our Parks Committee, which then go forward with the big vote. It is not as important, but by the same token, you also have to make sure while you're a dog advocate, you don't just go to meetings where a dog run is on the agenda. You have to build respect with the other people there. If you notice something bad in the playground, you bring that up too, because if you're just a dog person, there's a problem. At the same time, if you are known as a reasonable person to work with, when you say we really need this dog run fixed because of XYZ, people will listen to you.
Yes, what she's referring to is being a public
Public
member
member,
of the community
You
board.
can just show up for a while and you'll be made a public member.
You know, each community board does it a little bit differently,
Yeah,
but that's basically correct. And all of the work in community boards takes place in these committee meetings anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you go to those committee meetings, you get the work done. It's certainly helpful if you're on the full board, so you can make sure the vote when it comes to the resolution, the full board, it gets passed. But
You go to some of those meetings if you can, even if you don't vote.
exactly,
Just to make yourself
you
known.
can speak. But you also don't know whether a dog issue is going to come up at a meeting, simply because it's not on the
Yeah,
agenda.
exactly.
That's how our group got formed, is our community board passed a resolution on an issue that wasn't on any agenda to ban dogs in
Someone has to
Battery
be
Park
there.
City. And we found out about it after the resolution came in, and we formed our group and stormed the next meeting, and it reversed itself, and then I put in my application.
Yeah.
to join.
Can both of you quickly explain how, because a lot of people forget, community boards out of Manhattan particularly tend to almost become like civic association, and people think that they actually have authority, or they're not just advisory. And I have to remind people that that they do not have the power to up or down a vote legally, but they are listened to. And if you
They
could
are
explain
very,
that a little bit.
that's right. Community boards are fundamentally advisory in nature. There are certain things that they, by city charter, they have to vote on, but even those votes are land use, particularly. But some of these dog run issues are intertwined with land use decisions on allocating park space or disposition of city land and so forth. Their votes are advisory, but in many areas, the community board is listened to. Because as we all know, when you propose some part of park space to be dedicated to a particular use, all the other constituents from the park come out and say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't leave enough room for my particular use. And so parks, city, listen to what the community board has to say on this subject to try to deal with these difficult community issues. And so, although it's not binding, you're highly unlikely to get something that the community board votes against. You are highly likely to get something the community board votes in favor.
And the last thing is, if you just come to meetings consistently and express interest in other things, different committees are run in different ways. Land use tends to be very formal because of all the regulations and things like that. Often you will be asked to be a community member. Another thing you could do is, if you want to become a full board member, if you have all the people who use your dog, who write a petition to your council person or the borough president saying, so-and-so represents us, we want them on the full, that kind of pressure means votes.
And having been a community member or a public